One essential part of mastering your emotions after a breakup is forgiving yourself and your ex for the breakup. To begin with, however, let's focus on your partner. A breakup can be such a time in which you suffered greatly. Perhaps you heard terrible words about yourself or were betrayed or hurt in some other way. If you don't work them out, such events can follow you for a long time and not give you peace. Such true forgiveness of your partner is one of the most critical and cleansing things you can do for yourself. You heard right, for yourself, not for that person. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Forgiveness means an approach like, I no longer hold a grudge against you. I would like you to be happy. How do we practically eliminate the anger and resentment that may have arisen after someone has wronged us? For me, the best answer is the theory of determinism. So let me introduce you to what exactly it consists of. The theory of determinism assumes that everything that happens in our lives results from previous events. This is the law of cause and effect. The avalanche fell in the mountains, in the exact place it failed because of the previous factors that contributed to it, for example, terrain, snowfall, but also all such minute, often at first glance, neglected forces that influence the avalanche formation. This was a pure example of how the law works, cause and effect. However, we humans exclude ourselves from operating these laws for some reason. Intuitively, we assume that we are above these laws of cause and effect and believe that we can shape our own destiny. That is, we have free will. For years, there has been a debate among philosophers about whether free will exists at all, or whether it is merely an illusion. However, all scientific indications, and we are talking here about the world of physics, not philosophy, point to the fact that free will is a pure illusion. Instead, the current debate is not about whether free will exists, but to what extent it is an illusion. So far, the evidence proves that it is a total illusion. In contrast, the answer to this question significantly affects how we view the world. Albert Einstein was a great proponent of the theory of determinism, and based on the theory of relativity, of which he was the founder, we can conclude that the universe is deterministic. That is, the theory of determinism is accurate, and we have no free will. The only room for discussion is left by quantum physics, where true randomness can appear precisely at the quantum level, but quantum randomness still leaves no space for decision-making at any point. It is still a determinism. Taking into account this theory of determinism, i.e., that everything that happened had to happen, can have a significant impact on human life, and makes it much easier to understand a lot of behavior that generally, when we look at it only superficially, seems inexplicable. No one at any time chooses to be a homeless alcoholic in the future. It just happens to them. No one chooses to be a ruthless murderer. It is straightforward for us to hate such dangerous people, looking at what a threat they are to us. And yet the theory of determinism allows us to understand them, forgive them, and get rid of all hatred. Only in such a state of cool calculation, not lust for revenge, can we make the best decision. What to do with such a murderer who threatens you with a gun? It may still be the best option to shoot such a dangerous person, for example, if he is pointing a gun in your direction at the moment. But it is always better to make such a decision coldly, without hatred, because hatred or other negative emotions will drive us towards a thoughtless act, doing evil to other people, rather than making the best decision that will be most beneficial to us in the future. In the book Free Will, author Sam Harris describes people who, despite being raised in a challenging pathological environment, where they had alcoholic parents, parents who beat them, who did not love their children, were able to find their way in this world. Harris describes people who, despite everything, came out on top, continued to be expected, healthy individuals, and socially found their way in their lives. In contrast, unfortunately, the sisters or brothers of these people could not find their way and go down. It turned out that these people who came out have a gene responsible for them being much more resilient to stress and much better able to cope with it compared to other people who don't have this gene. So, let's see. It's not a credit to these people that they came out of such a challenging environment. It's just that they're very lucky. It's through the law of cause and effect that they had the gene that made it possible. Brothers and sisters of the same people did not have this gene and ended up much worse. So it's hard to talk here about some great merit of the fact that they had such a firm will that I succeeded, and these rolled. That's not the case. So, it's such a theory of determinism, and adopting it also teaches great humility. The theory of determinism makes it possible to look at other people just like that and forgive better. Of course, always with this theory of determinism, there is an argument. Well, what about this free will? After all, everyone chooses their path in life. Since I can move any finger, leg, hand, or head at any time, I can probably do what I want. Well, according to determinism, this is just an illusion. Well, and you can see it perfectly in the example of children. Look at those countries where children carry guns from a young age. It's expected that everything such a little boy does and believes in is due to where he was born, in what geographic area, in what family, and in what environment he grew up. Children absorb beliefs from their parents and their environment, like sponges. Here we can all agree that such a boy cannot be tried, let alone convicted, for what he currently believes because it was never his choice. It was injected into him, just as we don't choose where we were born. This is pure coincidence. Yes, our beliefs and convictions are pure chance, over which we have no control. Then the question arises, at what point will this free will appear? When a child turns 10 years old, can he suddenly conclude that what everyone around him believes is the wrong path, and this child does not want to follow it? If this were to happen, it would have to be inspired by some other event, coming into contact with some different environment, reading some inspiring book, or watching some worthwhile movie. Such a child would have to be extremely lucky for this to happen. The vicissitudes of life guide us and are ultimately more of an observer than an actor. Here, we are still stuck in the theory of determinism. At what age does this free will suddenly appear? At the age of 18, does something suddenly change? Do we have a magical influence that now we have already begun to choose our choices and are immune to those twists and turns life directs us with? We can immediately decide to be a homeless alcoholic, a murderer, or a pedophile after all. But does something happen to us, and life throws us this way? Or does it happen at the age of 25 or 37? Where is the boundary here? This limit does not exist, and free will is a pure illusion. By adopting this theory of determinism, we can start looking at life like a movie. When watching a movie, you're in the center of the action. Some action is going on constantly. You're caught up in the plot and don't know what will happen. You can't predict it with certainty. You can only guess, but you never have that 100% certainty, even though you know it's just a movie. There is only one ending. This movie has already been recorded, and the ending is before you. You may think, I wish this character had behaved differently than he did, yet he could not have behaved differently. In the theory of determinism, there could be no other ending than there is. We don't know the future. We cannot predict it accurately, and most likely, it will never be possible. And yet, the future is, like the past, linear. It does not have infinite possible solutions, just like that avalanche falling in the mountains. It has only one final possible alignment, the one in which it has just aligned itself. Yes, your life has only one final path. Everything that happened had to happen, and everything that will have to happen that way because that's how space-time works. Time is just an extra dimension. So we have to live as if we have free will and everything depends on us. But at the same time, be so aware that nothing at any moment could have happened differently because we are just such a tiny particle of this one extensive system, which could not have behaved differently at any moment. And it is with this attitude that it is much easier to learn to forgive and get rid of hatred. When you understand this, where you see rudeness and malice, you will also feel compassion as soon as you manage to control those first automatic reactions. You will know that there is ignorance and such misery in life underneath. After all, in the same way, we should look at both ourselves and our partner. No matter what happened between you or what unpleasantness you experienced or left yourself, there is no point in hating yourself or the other person. It couldn't have happened any other way. This doesn't mean we must allow someone to mistreat us. Remember, we must live as if free will is the truth, but look at others as an illusion. One must always learn lessons and defend oneself and one's interests as much as possible, yet it is never worth hating and harboring grudges. This only destroys us from the inside, blinds our view of reality, and pushes us to make worse decisions that we will regret. So, if you have been betrayed, I sincerely sympathize with you. If it happened at a time when everything was fine between you, chances are that your partner has that genetic tendency to cheat, and it may happen again in the future. Knowing this, you may decide to break up, to forget as soon as possible, but you don't have to hate this person. If that comforts you in any way, your partner will also find it very difficult to create a happy relationship for the rest of your life. But it couldn't be any other way. He didn't choose to be some boor, simpleton, and unfaithful egotist who would betray you. It couldn't have happened any other way, even if he explains it to himself with the theory of determinism and forgives himself thanks to it. He still doesn't escape from this law. So it doesn't make sense to hate this person in this regard. If you have cheated or in some other way hurt your partner, then learn from this for the future and do not repeat these mistakes. Yet, also forgive yourself, even if your partner has not yet forgiven you. Everything in your life has brought you to such a moment, and life could not have turned out any other way. You had to betray your partner, and self-flagellation will not help you. Our human nature has brought us to this point. If we had different genetics, if other circumstances had happened to you, you probably wouldn't have made it happen. On the other hand, years of evolution unfortunately did not eradicate this betrayal from humanity. It happens all the time, and it happened to you too. Forgiveness will bring great relief to you and your partner, first and foremost. If you don't want to return to them, these people don't even have to know that you forgave them. It is you who will be relieved, not that person. A good way to forgive is to say to yourself in your mind to that person who did you wrong, no matter what they did, in a sentence like this: I wish you were happy. I wish you were well in life. After such an emotionally powerful event, undoubtedly a breakup, why hope to get back together and live a little on that hope, telling yourself that surely everything will be fine and you will get back together again? Meanwhile, the truth is that you don't know how it will be. Even with this best strategy of help from one of our experienced experts, you will never have 100% certainty that you will get your partner back. That's why living in the belief that you will succeed is condemning yourself to torture. Because every time you get a signal that something might not go your way after all, that very uncertainty anxiety will creep into your life. Are you sure it's going to be okay? Are we still going to come together? Living a life of hope is a constant emotional swing. Once you are calm and happy, you see that maybe it will go well, and in a few days or even hours, you may be down because you get some sign of disinterest or some other signal that the ex doesn't want to come back yet. This emotional swing can be evident in your behavior and attitude, which can be very dangerous because you might lose your attraction. Your ex will see that you have mood swings, that you continue to react emotionally, and that you are dependent on this person. This is a significant danger that should not be ignored. The way out of this trap is to realize that you can still manage whether you succeed or fail in getting your ex back. Such two exciting paths ahead of you will give you a different experience, not necessarily worse. Even if you now dream of returning to your ex, abandoning this goal in such an obvious way will not mean that you will suddenly be lonely or unhappy for the rest of your life. Only you can condemn yourself to such a state if you believe that happiness is impossible without this person. However, all other people, including your former partners, prove this false thesis. You can be happy without this person, so face it. Be prepared for the fact that it may not work out for you, and then you will have to move on with your life. It doesn't have to be a worse life by any means. It will just be a little different. If you believe in the thought that you can't be happy without this person, then consider the opposite of that thought. Without this person, I cannot be happy, and I list why that might be true. This is a potent tool, and I encourage you to use it in such a situation. When you are reconciled to these two possibilities, and no matter what works in your relationship with your ex, you will always be able to remain calm at any withdrawal on the ex's part. At most, you will say to yourself, "It looks like I'm facing a second option," instead of telling yourself, "Oh God, my life is just losing any meaning." This course has changed your perception of the breakup process and will help you move on. Time is the most precious thing in our world, so it's not worth wasting it on unhappiness. I invite you to the next section. If you liked the material, leave a like and send it to a friend or someone close to you who may benefit from this knowledge. If you want to support our work and help us create more valuable videos, there is a link in the description.